So I put a post the other day in the Ultimate Agent Academy, kind of asking people where, what goals they had, what goals they were working on right now. And believe it or not, a lot of people didn't have goals that they were working on. A lot of people are still just struggling. So when you're struggling, your goal kind of goes to the back burner and you're not worried about what your goal is. You're worried about, how do I make a return of income on the leads I just bought? Like that's where most people are. Like how do I make this work? How do I make a profit? Like that is the most important part of the business. That's why most people fall out. They don't make a profit. The overhead is so high and so many people get into this with no money. I mean, I'm sure some people get into it with, they got a lot of credit card room or they have money that, they come from money and they just want to start a business. But most people that are getting into this, it's almost like a last ditch effort. And it's like, I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket. And if it don't work, then I'm going to have to go back and get a job. So key number one is you have to find a good lead source, because if you don't find a good lead source, you're never going to have that ROI. So I think doing what we do, doing our own marketing and knowing the entire lead journey is crucial. If you don't know the entire lead journey, you don't know what the ad says to get the lead, who the ad is actually targeting, or what it even says. You're just going off, what some lead vendor told you it said. There's no confidence in that. Without confidence, you can't sell anything. Your confidence comes from selling. Selling comes from confidence, right? I tell my kids that all the time. Winning comes with confidence, and confidence comes with winning. Like it goes full circle. You can't have one without the other, and you got to have one to get the other. So the thing that most people are talking about in the Ultimate Agent Academy, where I need to work on consistency. And a lot of people said consistency, how to be more efficient, how to be more efficient with my time. And a lot of people are, they might be single moms. And I talked to one lady and she's trying to figure out how to homeschool her kids at home and run appointments at home. And I'm like, props to you. Like, I have no advice for you other than you need to find an office setting and get out of your house. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you. But the number one key to being consistent in any business, insurance or no insurance, whatever it is, any type of sales, like you have to keep your pipeline full. That's where the consistency comes from. Because in life insurance or sales in general, most sales, there's no renewals. You have to sell every day to make money. Car sales, internet sales, like nobody's really getting any back end money. So every day starts at zero. So knowing every day is going to start at zero, how can I be efficient if every day starts at zero? Because you can have a bad week and not make anything. It happens. Like me and Emily we still have days where we write zero apps. Like you wouldn't think somebody that can write $100,000 a week or a month would have a zero day, but it happens. Like we get busy with other things and our full focus is not on sales on that particular day. We let other things get in the way and we'll have a big goose egg for the day. But keeping that pipeline full is how you're going to stay consistent. So you're going to have sales. So you want to keep your lead pipeline full for sure. We've already got that mastered. We know how to keep a lead pipeline full. You have plenty of leads coming in. You have good high intent leads coming in. Now, how do I stay consistent? How do I write 10,000 every single week? That's keeping your pipeline full. So going in and working, you're not going to one call close everybody. So going in and doing your follow-up. Follow-up's a huge, you know, part of this business. We don't one call close a lot of people. Most of the people that, if y'all see me close somebody and I transfer it to Emily, most of the time she doesn't close them or get all their info. She's having to call them back later that afternoon or tomorrow or next week. But you have to keep up with those people. Don't let them fall through the cracks. And work your pending business. Anything, if you've been in business for any amount of time, you have pending business, you know. people that are possibly canceling, people that already have canceled, you go back and rewrite those people. But there's plenty of different ways that you can keep your pipeline full. And the CRM is one of those ways to help you keep that pipeline full. So I'm gonna let Emily jump in here and share because her and Shelby are really the ones that keep everything moving on the back end. You know, even when I am on the phone, even when I am on the phone, um, you know, once it leaves my hands, it's gone. Like I don't even remember the person's name anymore. So they're the ones that kind of keep everything going on the back end and really keep that pipeline full and work all those people. And I mean, Shelby's a dog. Like if somebody says call me back in 2 hours, Shelby will call him 8 times. Like that, the persistency is where we're winning. So Emily, go ahead and fill us in on what you guys do and how you can set us up for success.
Yes. So, first and foremost, before I had a Shelby, I had to do it all. I know everyone on here is at different levels. Number one, you have to have a system. Okay. You have to because you have too many leads coming in. You cannot keep up with them if you don't have a system in place. For me, I'm all about actual papers. Okay. Now, some of you on here, you might be good with doing everything electronic. That's just not who I am. Okay. So, with that, there's no reason between me and Shelby, whether Hunter shows up or not, right? Hunter's doing a lot more recruiting and training, and he's taking on that role. But still, just between me and Shelby, we should never have a 0 day because of what we put in place. So, what I mean by that is I'm going to come to the office and I'm going to have 20 appointments no matter what. Okay. That's our rule. With the leads we have, there's no reason why I shouldn't have 20 appointments. Okay. But secondly, we have other clients we're touching all throughout the day. So let's say, I mean, our clients are just like the people you're getting on the phone. We get no showed. The difference is we don't stay no showed. Okay. So what that looks like for us, I have actual manual folders. Will you get a couple of them out, Shelby? I have a manual folder of pending finalize that all these people need to do is give me routing, account number. We need one signature, things like that. I have my underwriting folder. So once something goes into underwriting, I don't just keep it on my desk and get bogged down with trying to get those pushed through. They go straight in the folder. Okay. Then I also have my no answer folder of my appointments from, we're not talking about I let it stack up for a month. We're talking about my no answers from yesterday. Okay. And then we also have another folder. She's going to show you some of them. We have another folder with declines. So I got my no answers from yesterday, not from a month ago. I got my people who were declined that I've got to rework. I've got my pending finalize. And then I've got my people sitting in underwriting. Okay. You have to find balance in this business for as many people as we talk to. So before I had a Shelby, if I didn't have those folders, like I wasn't going to keep up with people. And you may be new at this, and right now you think you can keep up, but I'm telling you, if you don't put something in place, you're going to lose sales and they're going to fall through the crack. Okay. So, first and foremost, let's say I have 2 10 o'clocks and both of them no show me. And the moment that they no show me, now that Shelby and I work so closely, she already knows. Like, hey, they didn't answer. So I'm pulling somebody out of declines or rewrites. Okay. Also, we have a folder with people who have lapsed for non-payment. You want to talk about a laydown? A laydown's a customer you already had. If they bought from you once, they're gonna buy from you again. It's just getting them back on the phone. Life happens. People miss their payments. People are human. You cannot be scared to call them back. And if they're already lapsed, what does it hurt you? Right? And so with that, our pipeline is constantly full, but you have to label people right in the CRM. For example, if I have myself in the CRM in mine, I have Hunter, I have Monica, and I have Shelby. If I'm not putting good notes in there, we're going to start touching the same people, right? When you start growing your team, like with Rod and Charla, if Rod doesn't put good notes in there, Charla may totally mess up and say the exact same thing that Rod just said. It's very easy to happen. If you want to make people mad, that's exactly what will happen. But you can't be scared to call people more than once. These are truck drivers. Sometimes literally, I had a client yesterday and I just tell Shelby, because she's not scared now because we work so closely. Like you can't see it, but her desk is like 6 feet away from me. Right. So, meaning I told her like, hey, we have this one client and all we need is an email signature to get him approved. And I just told her straight up at the end of like, we're getting this done. And she's like, absolutely. I think she called that guy, I'm not kidding, probably like 15 times, to the point he was like, my goodness, I'm going to get this done. And you know what she said? She said, we just want to make sure you have protection and that's our job. And we don't want to lose how far we've come today. So I know I called you a little bit, but I want to protect you and your family. What are they going to say? Shame on you. You want my family protected. My good, you know what I mean? You can't be scared to hold people accountable. So throughout the day, I love Shelby too. So throughout the day, it's one of those things that one day I'm just going to record our interaction, because at some point, everyone on here, you're going to need an assistant, like you are. When you're growing and you're doing those things and you want to go to the next level, that's what it requires. So for me in sales, I know that it's better for me to be on the phone with a client selling than it is for me to be on billing. Fair? For our agency, it's going to make us a lot more money and we're going to grow faster if I'm not hung up on billing all day. So guess who does my billing? Shelby. Guess who does, the client wants to change their beneficiary and we got to figure out, because every company is different. What do we got to send them? Shelby. I'm not going to sit on hold for 45 minutes. She's going to pick up the pieces there so that I can keep going. So it's constantly flooding that pipeline. Okay. And hold on. Sorry.
So
What?
what Shelby also does is like on Monday mornings, like when you've been writing business all week and you find out later on in the week that there's requirements and things are hung up, Shelby's job, first thing Monday morning, get on the phone with the carriers. Like we've got to get paid. That's the name of this game. Like if we don't get paid, nothing else happens. So very first thing in the morning, sometimes it's multiple times a week. First thing in the morning comes in, straight to the carriers. We have to focus on the business that we've written. We have everything for them. We just need to get paid.
If you're not staying on top of that, nobody on here is going to get paid. Does anybody on here work hourly? No, your commission. So if you don't have it coming in, what are you going to do? You can't let these things slide through the cracks. So if you're on here and you don't have someone helping you, you have to time management these things. Okay. Meaning when I know that I have to call carriers and it was just me, I'm calling at 8 o'clock as soon as they open. I'm not waiting until the afternoon to where everybody and their dog is calling them. So my billing and things like that, where I have to wait on hold with the carrier, it's first thing in the morning and it's done and it's knocked out. Because I know if I call in the afternoon, it's more likely I'm going to be sitting on hold for 20 minutes and I could be already halfway through another presentation. Fair? What you need to also do is work your declines. So first of all, anyone on here who has someone who's been declined, going into it, it's going to be harder and it's going to take more time, right? So why would I take the time that I booked with another person to do that decline? I still have to have the new person coming in. So when it was just me by myself, I'm working my declines after my appointments, meaning like 6 o'clock. I stack whatever, I know everyone's schedule is different, but I stack my appointments from 9 till 5:30. So 6 o'clock, I'm going through and I'm working my declines. And I'm going through other carriers, meaning if I know that I have to go from a Foresters to an NLG, it's going to take me more time. And it's going to have more requirements on it. So I'm straight up telling the client, like, listen, I'm gonna need 2 more signatures. And this is still in underwriting. And remember when I told you that I'm gonna go to work for you? This is part of that work. And this is gonna be a process. I don't let them think I'm just gonna be done tomorrow and we're gonna have an answer. Okay? So if you're on your own, you have to time manage those things and you have to stick to a schedule, because if you let people, your schedule will get altered and you're going to look up and you can be bogged down with billing all day long. You can be bogged down with requirements trying to get policies issued all day. It's very easy to do. But if you're not constantly getting those new people, so let's say I worked my first 2 appointments, they no showed me, right? Shelby already knows, and I'll let you talk for a second on that. I'll just let you talk on what you do when people don't answer me for a call.
So most of the time when people don't answer family for a call, I will grab our reroute folder, I'll grab our finalized folder, and we just jump on them. Like when people don't answer the phone, me and Emily can get their finalized and get like 4 people finalized before the next appointment. So that's why it's really important to keep that folder full. Or not full, but like if you like if they do not answer for their appointment and they're just like routing an account or something easy, put them in that folder to where when you don't have people that answer, you just keep filling it and filling it and filling it and keep calling them. Do not stop calling them. There's one guy, me and Emily chased him for 4 months. I called him probably over 200 times. Finally, he answered and goes, "Is this Shelby again?" I said, "Yeah, it's Shelby again." I said, "And today we're getting you taken care of. Like, there's no if, ands, or buts about it." I said, "Let's get taken care of because I know that your wife's probably chewing you out about it." And he goes, "You know what? You're right." He said, "Let's do it." So that's what I'm saying. Like, keep your folder and make sure that you always follow up with them, because it can be 3, 4 months down the road and you just keep calling them. And eventually they're gonna be like, "Okay, let's do it. You know what? You're trying to help me out and you're trying to help me protect my family. Let's do it. Like, it's gonna help me save time and effort. Let's do it."
And so what we do here, Sarah, to your note, like I write, and I'm a paper person, so I'm going to show you the kind of stuff I do, okay? And this is where Shelby knows my crazy. So when I say I have notes on papers, like I got the notes, man. Okay? I got to know.
Can you
And
also, really quick, can you also turn your camera around and show them what is in front of you on the wall?
Sure. Hold on. That's not easy, but sure. We have a big calendar. Everybody see my big calendar? I'll just give you a tour. Okay. So, the reason why the calendar is important is because Shelby knows, like, me and Shelby don't have to waste time talking about, like, well, what time are you going to be in the office? What time do I need to set your appointments for? Well, this person wants to finalize. It's already on there. Like it's right in front of everybody's face. So anybody who comes to my office, it doesn't matter if it's Hunter, right? Like all of our stuff is up there. So for example, this week, I'm leaving early on Wednesday. Shelby already knows that. She knew it last week. So I don't have to worry about making people mad, setting those appointments up on Wednesday, or making her mad, me not being here, because it also tells her what she needs to fill that time with. Does that make sense? And it's right there. So there's no question of, hey, I'm leaving in the day at noon. So if someone calls, you already know. Okay. But as far as the CRM, Sarah, I take everything on this sheet, and I've been doing this a little bit, right? So I go ahead with every customer and I ask those questions that we learn on all those other applications, meaning like Mutual of Omaha. I'm not having to put in physician's information, but I know if I got to move to a Foresters, not only do I have to have the physician's information, I got to have the medication, how often, right? So I'm already proactive in that, even though I'm not worried about my client getting declined. Okay. Because what that does for me is the next time when I have to transition and I have to call them and I'm like, hey, I had to go a different route here, they've already answered all of my questions. So I can turn around and start the application with a Foresters or whichever the case may be, right? Because I've asked those questions that are crucial. I'm already asking them, how old is your mom? How old is your dad? Are they living? How did they pass away? Even though it has nothing relevant to the app I'm filling out right now, if I've got to switch, that's less time I got to spend getting that extra information. I'm already proactive. So that's why when I told you guys before and I shared about the printout with the applications, that's huge, because if I can go through these applications and I can figure out what the simple differences are, because they're not a lot different. There's not a whole lot difference, except for NLG asks a lot more questions. If I can get comfortable knowing the questions I have to ask, and I'm doing it already while I'm trying to type in the address and I'm already doing the work, it helps keep dead air from happening, but also it sets me to win, because those are less questions I'm going to have to bug them with later, because I'm already getting them up front. And so what I do is I take all of this information, okay, and I scan it into our CRM, into the attachment page. So meaning once I file this, if it gets lost or thrown away or burned, I still have all my paper. If I had to, I could go print it back out from the CRM. And there's a lot of people we finalize that, I mean, we've had to do that. We've also had people that we had to finalize that we couldn't even find the paper because they were older, right? We work our declines and we work our lapses one carrier at a time. So meaning right now, the stack of lapses that Shelby has, and you got to realize it's Hunter and Mai's book. So of course we're going to have more, but right now we're only on Americo. We still haven't even made it through Americo. And we've been doing Americo since January, February. I mean, so, and once we go all the way through, then we'll move to the next carrier. So then we'll go pull all the mutual ones. Then we'll go pull all the Foresters ones, because that's the only way that we found ourselves that we can keep up with it, because we don't want to just be bugging the same people over and over and over. Okay. Now, if you don't have these systems in place and you don't have, my system's not going to work for everybody on here. Okay. Sorry, I'm reading your question, Sarah. When do y'all do them in the day? When do we do what exactly? What's your
You know
question,
how
Sarah?
there's how you drop them into that sequence of texting? It's like day 1, day 2, day 3 through 5. When do you drop people into that?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
We
You don't.
straight up call them. We call them and we hit them hard. And what you have to realize, if somebody has bought from you before, they're going to buy. You don't have to rebuild trust. You already had it. So I don't have to put them through a campaign on, we don't do that. We just call them.
Oh,
And let me tell you,
what if you don't get a hold of them? Do you put them into that, or like the people
we
that
don't have,
Well, I think what she's asking, like every lead that comes in automatically goes into that campaign. But some people will
Oh,
sit, some
okay.
people will sit and let the campaign do its job. As soon as the lead comes in, it needs to be called.
Okay, so we
Yes.
can put them in right away into that when we get the lead. Because
Yeah.
for some reason
Yeah.
ours isn't automated. There's some glitch. We don't know how to get it to automate like that. Okay, I'll have Greg. Those people really help you at Agent CRM though. Like they'll sit there, they
Yes.
only help you like for 10 or 15 minutes, but they'll like even do stuff for you.
Yeah. And I mean,
Okay.
we've paid for their time. I mean, Hunter and I, we're not opposed to that.
Mhm.
What you got to get to, and what Hunter and I have learned in this business, you either have time or you have money,
Mm.
right? Meaning, like, I know if I'm not on the phone, we're losing money. Fair. And between both of us, if I get bogged down with agency, like, I don't want to be an agent CRM master. That's not good for me, because that doesn't make me any money. Fair. So it's much more profitable for Hunter and I to take 4 hours and pay them hourly and say, okay, this is everything we need to do, and I need it done, and I need it done as fast as possible. Fair. So it's all about really maximizing time management. And the most important thing is that you have to understand, to keep your pipeline full the way that it really needs to be, especially in the beginning, you got to work the mess out of these leads. You can't be scared to call them more than 3 times. I mean, when I tell you Shelby wears them out, especially if they've messaged our CRM and they're telling me that they need this appointment, oh, it's over. You're getting the appointment. And we go into it and we assume the sell. And the reason why she can have that confidence is because It's not optional in here with us, right? Like, hey, did they text the CRM and say they needed to talk to us? Okay, we're gonna call until they talk to us. Until they tell us no, we're still gonna go, because at the end of the day, we're protecting their families. You have to remember what we're doing for people. It's a lot easier to bug someone when you realize, like, wait till it happens, because it will happen to everybody on here at some point. Wait until you get the horrible call of the client you didn't close, and it's their spouse saying, "Hey, Sarah, I know that you were talking to my husband, Ron, about getting coverage. He died yesterday. Did he ever finish that with you?" And you have to say, "You know what? He didn't." That's a terrible position to be in, and it's going to happen. You're going to have those people that you follow up with, and now they have cancer and they didn't take the policy, and now you can't help them. Right. So for me in my office with me and I mean, yesterday, literally, we had one of our drivers that he was a decline that we were reworking. His daughter just died. Boom. And he's like, "I know I have to have this. Like, my daughter died and we don't even know what we're going to do. And she was 18 and all the things." Right. Well, here's the deal. Do you think we were just like, "I'm so sorry"? Of course. But we were like, "Hey, you better not put this off. Like, you don't have time to waste. What if it's you and we don't do this coverage for you? What does that really look like, your family?" People are scared to say those things, but we're the professionals on the phone. That's our job. That's our job, and that's what they need from us, to hold them accountable and go, "You know what?" And his name was Felix. I mean, I still remember. "You know what, Felix? Like, listen, if you don't put this in place, what are your kids going to do if it's you tomorrow? Don't put us in that position where we have to tell your family that you didn't pull the trigger on this, even though you knew you needed it." We all get those rebuttals, but you have to have the boldness to do that. And now, because Shelby hears me all day, every day, Shelby straight up tells people on the phone, like, when they don't pay their bill or if they've lapsed, the first thing I've trained her to say is, "Hey, life happens. We get it. It's not my job to shame somebody. Hey, you know what? I get it. Bills happen, things happen, but what matters to us is not, that happened, but what matters to us is that you're driving without coverage right now. Like, what happens if you die right now? What happens if you get cancer right now and then we can't insure you?" I have a customer right now that's a rewrite from he let his policy lapse. Well, guess what? He got declined. Not through one carrier, but through two. And so I had to straight up tell him, like, "Listen, you got one more shot." And I got him an approval, believe it or not, with Ethos. Okay. Everybody else declined him. And Ethos, it came back a little bit higher, but I had to just tell him straight up, like, "Listen, you can't let this lapse. Like, we did this before. We're going to be writing you even more, because anything else happens, I don't think I can get you coverage again. Like, this is your last hope." And so instead of them, saying no, they had a serious sit down, and we're supposed to finalize today on what he can afford right now. And I just told him, "You're going to expect, Shelby, if you miss a payment for any reason, we're going to be on you." And they were thankful for that. And the wife was like, "Please, because if something happens to him and I have nothing, what am I going to do?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So the price from the last time I wrote him was over $100 more a month. And she's like, "I have to figure out exactly what we can afford, because we can't go without it." So when you come across the place with people that you care, and you take out the salesy part and you just humanize it, right? Then you're able to really reach them. So, Charlotte, I see your question. We do a couple of things when the lead doesn't have the right number. So number one, we check and make sure in the lead that the lead sheet and the lead matches, or if it's a self book, sometimes there's different numbers on those, meaning when they fill it out, they could have their number on it that pulled from their Facebook page, but they changed their number and they booked an appointment with us and it's a different phone number. Does that make sense? And then what Sarah said about fast people search, you can Google it online. That's something, just to be honest with you, that where I'm at with Shelby, we don't have time to do those things. So we move forward. Could we rework
Yeah,
those?
I was
Of
gonna
course,
say,
but
I'm not doing no fast people search online and all that. I'm just curious, like, if you guys send an email, because sometimes the email is correct, but the phone number isn't.
we let the
Because they want an
automation do that.
email instead versus a phone call. That's probably why they put it incorrectly in the first place. I was just curious of what your steps were on that.
Sure. So we let
Our
the
workflow doesn't
automation do
even
that.
have any emails set up. So all we're sending
Mhm.
out is text. We have absolutely no emails.
Oh
And
no,
we,
I'm saying I know it doesn't automatically send emails. I'm just saying like I'll send out an email to connect at least with them because the phone number is incorrect. I know there's no like flow for that, but yeah. No, I was just curious.
I just, with the amount that we're dealing with, we just don't mess with it. I mean, we just consider it part of our investment of a loss. You know what I'm saying? Like we move forward. And I know everybody on here can't do, I totally get that. I'm not, Hunter and I started from nothing too, y'all. You know what I mean? Like we get it. There's times that you got to work the mess out of them harder than you do when you move forward. It's part of being in business, right? So, but if you are in that stage where you're still trying to get your feet in that consistency, you're going to have to do those things. You're going to have to search for them a little bit harder. You may have to send emails, but true transparency where we're at, we don't do that. I don't even mess with email at all. And not everybody
But
agrees with that.
use the agent CRM like an assistant. Like the workflow that I gave you is just kind of a basic, workflow for 5 days with our verbiage and stuff like that. But where you really need to focus your time on that agent CRM right now in the beginning is no-shows. So if you have a category for no-shows or missed appointment, however you labeled it, you need to have a trigger set up where, the AI, when you either put them in there or you just slide them over to no-show or missed appointment, that it automatically starts messaging them again to try to get them to rebook. So if your system is doing that and you can pick up a few more appointments like that, I mean, that's how you're getting help, keeping your pipeline full is when you have that AI working for you in the background. So we don't have that set up. I'm fixing to get all this set up on a larger scale, but I would highly recommend getting on the Agent CRM Q&A and ask them, how do I get my no-shows, get the agent, what do they call it, Agent AI now? They've done away with Schedule Bot. But you need to have something set up to where when you move it over to no-show, it automatically puts them in a new campaign and starts bugging them again to get them to rebook and has your calendar link and all that stuff on there. That's going to help you.
Well, and the other thing as a new agent, what's vital for billing side is we have it built in our CRM. As soon as I sell a policy, the system is going to do the texting for me on their billing. So meaning I'm going in and I'm putting in the date the bill's due, I'm putting the amount, and I'm putting when I want the reminder to automatically get sent to text out. Y'all, that's crucial. We're all human. We get busy, right? And I've been guilty of it myself. Like I booked an appointment with the doctor and we have one doctor that's a teledoc. You have to pay it before you can go there, right? If they don't send me those text reminders, I probably would forget. I have a chiropractor in town that I miss their appointments all the time, and they send me that text like, I know you're late. Are you still coming? Hey, do you need to reschedule for tomorrow? So having that billing side will help so much with chargebacks, and you're going to get honesty from people, right? Like I would rather work with someone who's like, hey, I need 2 more days on my billing. So I can be proactive and now I can call the carrier instead of having to be reactive. They've missed their payment. Now it's going to charge back. Now I'm having to do double work when the CRM can just send that text for me and I'm done. And I put that information in as soon as I sell the policy. So meaning at the end of the day, I go into all of my policies and I'm updating every note because the fast pace that Shelby and I work with, a lot of times, honestly, I don't have time to do it while I'm doing the sale. Selling is my selling time. So you have to figure out what works for you. So either at the end of my day, I'm putting my notes in, or at the beginning, I'm putting my notes in. But that's because I have Shelby dealing with billing. I have Shelby dealing with pushing people through and finalize. We're a team, right? We have team goals here in this office, not just me goals, right? So meaning I reach my goals. It's not just about me. It's about me, Shelby, and Hunter and Mom. Does that make sense, you guys? but you got to grow to get there. And in order to get there, you have to keep your pipeline full. So you can't be scared to bug the mess out of people. You can't be there. What are they going to do? They can't hit you through the phone, y'all. Like the worst thing they're going to do, if you haven't sold them yet and you're waiting on routing an account, let's just be honest for a second. They're not your client yet. So what's it going to matter if they get mad at you? They're not yours. You got to get that. That means you got to go through the chase. You got to go through the hustle, right? So would you rather bug them and get there or just lose them anyways because they're not yours? A lot of times us as agents, we're counting people before they're actually our people, right? And we're scared to have those tough conversations and go, wait a minute, you contacted me. And that's why I put such detailed notes on these papers and we use it back at them. Not just me, but Shelby too. So meaning if I have notes on here that they have nothing in place and they're married and they've got 2 kids, what do you think Shelby's going to say when it comes to billing time? Hey, wait a minute. I got your paper and it's on our CRM. Hey, I don't want your wife, Maria, or your kids, Billy and Bobby, to be out of place and not have any coverage if something happens to you. So we need to make sure that we have this covered. You can't do that if you don't take notes. You can't do that if you're just going through the motions, right? So if I'm calling, let's say Holly for a billing on her account, and she hears me go, hey, Holly, I know when we first took out coverage, you told me that if something happens to you, Jeff is going to be in a really bad position. And I understand things happen in life, Holly, and I totally get you missed your payment. But my goal is I want to make sure that if something, heaven forbid, happens to you, that Jeff doesn't get put in a bind. And I'm calling Jeff by name. Do you think Holly's going to pay her bill? Now I'm not just a bill collector and I'm not just, another person. Now, number one, Holly knows I actually care, right? I'm more likely to pay people who care about me. I'm just throwing that out there, right? I'm more likely to be in tune on the phone when it's someone calling me about my bill and they know my husband's name. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. You're right. And I haven't talked to you in 7 months and you remember my husband's name. That's priceless. That's a client for life, y'all. But you got to be able to talk to him and be like, and it opens the conversation to where now Holly feels comfortable in me because she knows I care about Jeff. So now Holly can be real with me. So I can say, all right, Holly, now let's talk about this. We took coverage out for 100,000, right? And I understand you haven't been able to make your payment. So do I need to lower it? Like my goal, Holly, is not to make it to where you can't afford it and you have nothing. I want to make sure you can. Would everybody on here rather have a client you have to lower coverage to or have no client? People are human.
Hey, can you kind of talk about like your approach, like when somebody falls off the books or cancels? Can you kind of talk about your approach and how you approach those people?
Yeah. So what's really important is, I'm going to give you 2 examples. And you guys have heard this if you've ever missed a bill in your life. I've missed a bill in my life before. Okay. We're going to be real on the Zoom. So the person that calls you and that is like, hey, Sarah, this is Emily from Legacy Protection, and I got your payment back as non-sufficient funds. So when can I get that payment from you? What are you going to do? Let's be honest, especially if you ain't got no money. You're going to hang up and you're done. You're done. So what instead, if I'm calling Sarah and I'm with the same energy that I called her when I booked her appointment, right? And I'm like, hey, Sarah, how are you? It's Emily with Legacy Protection. How are you doing? And then she's going to start talking to me. I'm not instantly like, hey, pay your bill on collections. It doesn't work that way. And then I'm like, hey, Sarah, this is on that income protection policy that we put in place. Do you remember that? Remember, we were making sure that whether you get critical, chronic, terminal, that cash value in that policy, or if you pass away, that coverage, you remember how important that is? Perfect. And you want to make sure, I already know their beneficiary name. That's the number one thing, y'all. You got to know that when you're calling your billing, because I got to make it real and that it matters. So I'm going to say, and Sarah, when we put this in place, I have down here, your beneficiary was Greg, right? Yeah. Okay. So we were putting this in place to make sure if anything happened to you, Greg's taken care of. Do you remember that? Yes, then I'm going into the business. And I personally, I don't ever use the wording insufficient funds because that just sounds ugly to people. That just puts people in a bad place. Okay. So what then I transition and I'm like, okay, perfect. So now we're on the same page about this important protection. Sarah, on your payment this month, we actually didn't receive it. And you know what? I totally get it. Life happens. Girl, I understand all too well. I've missed payments before. Maybe you got a different bank account. I give them the benefit of the doubt from the jump, right? Like maybe you changed your address and you didn't get your bill in the mail. Maybe I always give them that ability to not feel terrible. I humanize with them, right? And then I always go, so Sarah, we got a couple of options here, okay? Do you want it? Is this comfortable? Is this coverage comfortable for you? Like, can you sustain this every month? And if not, Sarah, I just want you to know, like, there's no judgment here. My job is to make sure you have something because Sarah, is something better than nothing when it comes down to Greg? Like, if something happens to you today, is him getting a little bit better than getting nothing? What are they going to tell me every single time? Of course, of course. So that's when you're able to have the real conversation. And now trust is built and you're going to get just real information on what's really going on instead of, I don't want to chase people and then lie to me every month and then lapse every single month. I want them to be real with me up front, but you have to set that tone from the phone call. You have to set it up from the jump, like, and you have to actually act like you care about people. And I get it. I can be a robot like everybody else, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure that they're protected because I don't want those phone calls that I've had in the past. And Shelby knows too. So here's the thing. Our office gets crazy. You never know what's going to happen here. We may have agents walk in the door. You don't know. But if I didn't have the information in the CRM, Shelby wouldn't be able to pull it. So that's just as much responsible on me as her, because if I'm not doing my job and I'm not putting my notes in, Shelby can't really help me to her full potential, or Hunter or whoever's here, right? Like, and we'll get calls from clients that have lapsed for 2 months that we haven't been able to hear from. But because how we treat them, they're not ashamed to call us again. They're not worried about us, being mean to them or any type of way. I just rewrote two. I just told you guys, I think on Friday, and one of them got declined, but they would never be comfortable talking to me if we were like, man, your coverage lapsed, it was insufficient funds, so I guess you couldn't afford it. Does anybody on this call like hearing the word insufficient funds ever in your life? You automatically feel like someone's judging you, right? I mean, it's just such a serious thing to say, right? Isn't it much easier if you're like, hey, Ronnie, no big deal. Like, I'm human too, and here's the thing. I've missed a payment before. I get it. I got kids. Life's crazy out there. But Ronnie, my job is just to make sure that your family's protected and we can protect your wife and kids. So is this payment comfortable for you still? Or do we need to look at something lower? And if you'll just be honest with people, you'll save all your book of business, and people will greatly appreciate your brutal honesty as long as you do it from a place that you're caring. So, number one tip, always know their beneficiary on billing. That's going to help save the deal, because now it's not just a bill. I'm not just a collector, right? Now I care about your family and I know your person. So on all of my notes in the CRM, so my paper is in the CRM, but I also have my manual notes of the paper in case the internet's slow. We live in the country also. We've seen it all happen, right? And so I have it right there, and the contingent, it's there, and it's like, hey, Shelby's gonna call him out by name every single time. Hey, we're trying to protect Hunter here. We have him as your beneficiary. So that way it takes you out of the pushy, obnoxious salesperson that I don't ever want to come across as. But again, if you don't have your system in place, that's what's going to happen. And you don't want people, after you make that sell, to only see you that way, right? You want to make sure that you're taking those notes and you're putting it in front of you on why they got this coverage in the first place, because you can't save it if you don't know their why. Does that make sense? I know that's a lot in a little bit of time, and we'll keep going through these, but chargebacks happen. So if anyone on here is thinking that we're some superhumans and I don't get them either, that's not right. But this is what, when I get a chargeback, guess what? Challenge accepted. Shelby and I, we finna to go to work and we're gonna save it. And we'll even joke about it. I mean, throughout the day, I'll be like, all right, we got 2 today. Which one's gonna pay? And what are you gonna do? And she'll be like, I called him 5 times. I'm like, all right, well, it's my turn. I'm gonna get him. And we'll just, I mean, that's the atmosphere we are, because we care about people, and we're talking about when someone dies or they have the worst part of their life, we're their people. So I got to care about them enough to annoy them. And if we're honest, these drivers, a lot of times, they're already getting calls 15 times a day. They don't even remember. They don't know that I called from 10 different lines. They only know our one main phone line. So, Holly, I got
So
your
just-
question.
Go ahead.
How do you know if they miss their payment, and how do you go in and change it for them? Yeah, Rod's right. The carrier is going to email you or text you. It's going to be on your dashboard. So you can't just put your head in the sand. So in your position, like you don't have an assistant, that's where that timing throughout the day, whichever time you commit to that, that's when you got to check it. Okay. So whatever that works for you, whether it's an hour before you start doing appointments, whatever time it is, you just got to commit to that until you get to that place where you have an assistant doing it for you. Does that make sense, Holly? Okay.
Would you be open to making like just like a 2-minute video of like, just because then as we bring people on, like I love how you were phrasing like what you say when someone misses a payment, or this is how you phrase it when, like, would you guys consider making just little tiny, like, you know, TikTok-ish size videos that then that way we can have the phrasing, because sometimes I can't write it all as fast.
Sure.
And then to go through like which I love this call and everything, but to go through, oh, okay, this is what I say when there's this happen, or this is what, like if we had a little tiny library, because then those are probably savable too, right? Little
Well,
tiny.
Hunter
think-
recorded this Zoom, and I think he's going to try to chop some of that up.
Oh, okay, yeah, because
We're-
I can't write fast enough.
I know. I'm
Or-
sorry. And I go